Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Barely in Downs. Hey Dave, I'm at the 1757 Club in Dulles, Virginia. Where are you at?
I'm back out at my home club at Tuscaloosa in Winter Springs. And you know, Sal, it's just been another week in golf, a regular old PGA Tour event. Even without Carolyn Bivens, you have the LPGA screwing things up royally. And then you have a Korean guy winning a major championship, the U.S. Amateur.
Well, talking about the U.S. Amateur, I have with me Mitch Voges, who won the U.S. Amateur how many years ago?
It's been a while now, 1991.
He won in 1991. Glad to have him with us to discuss some of the things that
you're just still a kid, Mitch.
You know, the first question I have is, hey, was it great that Heath Solcuim won, or you know, would we have rather have seen him miss that 20-footer on the last hole so that we would have had a playoff between Padraig Harrington, Tiger Woods, Ernie Els, and Steve Stricker and Slocum? What do you think, Dave?
Well, sure, a playoff would have been fantastic, but you know, I don't mind Heath Solcuim because I think that's, you know, if you're going to have a FedEx Cup playoff, I think that's one of the charms of it, that you have somebody come out of nowhere. You know, you have kind of this sort of, not exactly rags to riches, but, you know, a guy coming out of the woodwork to win the thing. That's part of the allure of it, isn't it?
Well, Mitch, what do you think about this?
First of all, it looks to me like Tiger's setting himself up to be one of the great all-time runner-up players. When's he going to win one again?
Well, who knows? But the thing is what do you think of this whole system where Heath Solcuim all of a sudden goes from being 124th, barely getting into the FedEx Cup playoffs, and then all of a sudden, you know, he jumps up to third. You know, is this a proper way of doing, Mitch? Is this a proper way of doing it?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the playoff system, quote unquote, the way it is, trying to come to a conclusion of the PGA Tour. I'd much rather see it done in segments where, you know, Sal, you might have a champion of the first quarter and then, you know, through summertime and then maybe through the fall and take the players from each of those segments and then let them truly play off.
Well, I wrote about it. Matter of fact, underneath right here, you can see where you can find it on, I wrote it 2 years ago on Golf Observer. Dave, what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, I think your proposal is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, Sal. You got the WGCs, you got the majors, you got the Players' Championship. Why do you want to introduce something through the course of the season? I mean, I don't think there should be playoffs at all. I think
Dave,
that, you know, the LPGA. I think the PGA's got to come out of cloud nine and understand what they are in the grand scheme of things.
Well, the thing is the FedEx Cup playoff isn't about the FedEx Cup playoff. It's a way that Tim Fincham talked the TV networks into taking the whole package by saying, hey guys, you know, we're going to do this FedEx just like they do in racing to keep interest. But, you know, is it keeping interest, Mitch?
I throw in
no, he sold him a bill of goods
on this deal. I think the whole FedEx Cup playoff thing is kind of an arbitrary, you know, made-for-TV kind of proposition, which really doesn't capture anybody's interest. Right now we're thinking about college football and then the pros right on top of that. So for me, the golf season really ends when the PGA concludes.
Well, good victory by Heath Solcuim. We also had some things happen at the LPGA event. What's your take on this, Dave? Why don't you explain it to us?
Well, you know, Jim Achenbach from Golf Week wrote extensively about this. Apparently they tried to do like the USGA does and introduce this graduated rough. Well, the first cut of rough, evidently because of weather problems, was really, really patchy. So they ended up giving players a lift, clean, and place option in the rough, in this first cut. Now, it's not a very big swath, but the problem is it also extended around the green. So, I mean, you could be 3 feet off of the green and have kind of a funky lie, but you still had, you know, not horrible, but you had the option to make it better and just tee it up. I mean, to me, that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Golf's not fair.
Mitch, your take?
Well, I think if you're going to have lift, clean, in place, it's going to either be in the fairway or through the green. Doing it arbitrary like this is a little bit like park ball, in my opinion.
Well, just to play devil's advocate on this, they had extreme temperatures in Portland a couple of weeks before the tournament. They had like 6 straight days of 100-degree temperatures. The grass just got really funky. They couldn't rope it off in white, you know, chalk lines to make a ground under repair. So this was the way they did this. You know,
so
honestly,
what, Sal? Hit the fairway. Don't miss the fairway. That's all. You miss the fairway, you're supposed to get penalized.
Well, you know what? I understand that, and we both kind of, or all three of us kind of agree it was kind of a funky thing that the LPGA did.
Well, what's worse than that is when they had the Solheim Cup and that ball came to rest in the middle of the fairway and quote-unquote ground under repair that hadn't been marked. That's just another black eye as far as I'm concerned on the operation.
Well, the LPGA
I think they ought to just let these girls just tee up every shot. How about that?
Boy, you're starting to sound like somebody that should be on the USGA Executive Committee. That's their point of view. Just tee it up. Never touch the ball at all.
You own a blue blazer, Dave?
I've got two of them, Mitch.
Well, now, you know, the LPGA, we had another Korean winner. It seems like every other week a Korean wins there. But we also had a second Korean winner at the U.S. Amateur. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our new U.S. Amateur champion?
Well, forgive me if I don't get the kid's name pronounced correctly, but it's Byung Hun An. He goes by Ben, 17 years old, so he became the youngest U.S. Amateur champion. You know, here's a kid who came over to the States, I believe, about 3 years ago, went to the IMG Academy in Bradenton, played the AJGA circuit. He was one of the better players there, but not a real big winner. So this was something of a surprise for this kid to come through and win the national championship.
Well, what do you think of this whole take? You know, we first had Sari Park, and then she started to think. We're now seeing more Korean men that are starting to become good players. You know, KJ Choi, you had Yang. You know, what's your take on this whole thing, on this Korean invasion?
First of all, Sal, I live in Southern California, and we see an awful lot of Korean and Asian youngsters playing golf, and they're really excelling. The work ethic, I think, is unparalleled. And I think that it's just given the nature of the game, and I think their builds happen to be good, although this young Mr. An is, for 17 years old, he's a pretty good-sized kid. Interestingly enough, he said he began playing golf at age 2 and only won one tournament since then, until the U.S. Amateur. He couldn't recall any previous successes in the winner's circle.
Well, hopefully, we think he's not going to pull Danny Lee on us and turn pro in the next couple of years. He is going to college, isn't he? He's going in your neck of the woods.
How's this for coincidence? Charlie Wee, born also in Korea, who was raised in Southern California. A friend of mine, we played golf at the same club in Southern California. Also went to Cal, but only went for a year, and then transferred out. And now you have the winner here yesterday also signed up to go to Cal. It'll be interesting to see if he follows in Charlie's footsteps. Maybe plays for a year, gets to the Masters, plays out some exemptions, and then turns professional.
Dave, what is your take on him staying amateur?
Well, I think it's pretty unlikely. He's probably, because he is so young, I mean, it makes sense for him to go play college golf for a couple of years, get a little bit more seasoning. You know, as far as the U.S. Amateur goes, it was kind of interesting. You know, it wasn't a particularly compelling final because, you know, this kid was 9 over par for the 31 holes, and his opponent, Ben Martin, was 15 over. But I will say this, An was very impressive in the quarterfinals when he took down Mike Van Sickle in 20 holes. And Van Sickle is a very, very accomplished player, just graduated from Marquette, you know, the son of Gary Van Sickle from Sports Illustrated. But, you know, this kid can play, and to, you know, take somebody a little more experienced and polished player 20 holes and beat him, that's very impressive.
Yeah, I sure would like to have one match in my life against somebody that's shooting an 80.
That's everybody's dream. Well, guys, we got to wrap it up. Hey, you know what? It's a lovely place here, 1757. I know Mitch has a Max Out Academy here. For anybody in the Washington area, you should come over here. Check out the Max Out facility where they'll fit you in to the proper clubs and everything. It's a new wave. It's the wave of the future, and everybody should have it this way. Hey, Dave, I've done it, and you see how good it's done for my game. You know, it'd be great if you could come up here and have it done.
Yeah, Mitch, I'm maxing out at about 220 off the tee right now, so I could use some help.
I hit more cart paths.
Hey guys, it's been a slice of heaven having you all here, and really enjoyed it. And you know, check back with us next week when we have another segment of Barely Inbounds.